So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be showing you step by step how to make a ceramic teapot. Now this one is a very crude one that I whipped up over the holidays with my daughter Rachel. So we both did our own little simple teapots. Okay, here is another one. This is one I bought for reference. So it's always good to have a reference right next to us so that we can see like nice shapes of the spouts and the handle. We want to have nice balance so it's easy for pouring. But this video is designed so that when you guys have your clay and you're ready to start step by step doing your teapot, that you'll be able to pause it and rewind it and go back to the different sections of the video so that you can see step by step what you need to do to make your basic teapot. Okay, in your visual journal, before you start, you should have a title page for yourself. You should also have a bit of a brainstorm about what kind of theme you would like for your teapot. So that is one of the other things you need. I'd like you to do a mood board, okay? Just so you've got reference stuff already sitting there. And you also need a page where you've played with some design concepts, okay? So I've played around with some ideas. I've mucked around with what shapes I wanted. This is a simple design that's very similar to what I've just made, and I'll probably paint that design onto this one. And then my second idea I had was to make this beautiful dragon one, which is what I'm going to be doing for you today. Okay, so of course when you get to the decorating part of your teapots, you can do whatever you want. It's your imagination is the limit. Today what I want to show you step by step though is how to do the basic stuff so that you can take a basic idea of a teapot. You know, you can have a nice spout on it, you've got a basic lid, it's all hand built. You know, once you guys know how to do the basics, then you can go for gold with your designs, and I can't wait to see them. All right, let's get started. So first thing you want to do is you want to have two roughly equal size balls of clay. Now I'm going to weigh mine out. You don't have to weigh yours, you can go by sight if you want to just look at how heavy they are. So that's 900 grams. This one is, oh my god, 900 grams. Spot on. So that just goes to show you absolutely don't need to weigh them. You can do it by sight pretty easily. All right, once you've got your two balls of clay, you can give them a wedge first if you like. I find it easier to wedge while I'm standing up because it's just easier. Now the reason I'm wedging it is because it helps compact my clay. It loosens it up a little bit, but it also makes sure there's no air bubbles in it and just helps to get it all a little bit more consistent. Okay, you don't have to do heaps of wedging. You don't have to keep it in the same direction because we're not putting this on a wheel today, we're hand building. Okay. Now this is going to end up being my base, and I'm aiming for a round base. If you have designed your teapot already and you know that you want like a real geographical sort of shape, like it's a square or it's tall and rectangular, then you might find it easier doing slab building, which is a bit different. I'm going to be doing this basically as if it's a round one. Step 2, I'm going to make two giant pinch pots, and I want these pinch pots to be very even, and I want them to actually have a really nice consistency. The most important thing when you are making two pinch pots this big is that you need to make sure your walls are all the same thickness. You don't want to have some sections of it too thin or too thick. So right at the beginning, it's very important that you're using your thumbs and your fingers to try and feel the depth of this thing and try and work out your shape. Now there is quite a lot of clay here, so this is actually going to be quite big, even though these already, actually this is going to be huge. I probably don't need a teapot this big. This is for a big family. In fact, if you have balls this big, I'd almost say to put them in half again, because you really don't need your teapot to be huge. Okay, it's actually quite hard to work with a bigger teapot. Okay, so I'm trying to work my pinch pot here. I want my walls to be thin, but I'm not going to stress about my walls being thin yet, because I actually need to have the ability to be able to work on this thing. Okay, don't forget to make the bottom just as thick as the sides. If you are wearing rings or something, you might want to consider taking them off. It's up to you. Okay, so there's one. This is just the rough part. Step 3 is I now need to even out my walls. Alright, you might think these are pretty good already, and if I put it together, I've already got a bit of a rough thing, and then I could just smooth it. But the fact is that you need to compress your walls, and if you don't compress your walls, then your clay could crack and start falling apart and stuff before you want it to. So what you need to compress your walls is, we do have these little metal ones, but they're not great. You want a rubber kidney like this. So a rubber kidney, you can get in here, you can get in there and you can really smooth and compress your walls of your pot. And while you're doing this, you can actually make it a little bit thinner. Now as you're doing this, if you get little bits like this coming off, just wipe them off and put them in your slip. Okay, so that's my slip bowl. If your clay is very wet, you might need to let it firm up a little bit as well. If while it's super wet, this whole thing could just collapse and be really floppy. So we want to make sure we're giving it a chance to dry out as well. So right now, as I'm doing this with the rubber kidney, I'm finding that I'm getting a lot of clay coming off because it's very soft. Banging it like this gives you a flat end, and it helps you to see if any of the sections are very thin, like that bit up here is a little bit thinner, this bit's a bit fatter, so it helps you to be able to try and even it out a little bit. Don't be a perfectionist. If it's like this, it's not too bad. You want your walls to have a little bit of thickness so that you've got a bit of strength in it to work it a bit later. Don't forget to make sure your bottom, a lot of people make the mistake of leaving it too thick in this section, so you need to make sure you get right in there and try and make it quite even. There's a real art to this, just to making a really simple pinch pot bowl. Okay, once you've done one, look at the difference, then and I could do that more. Okay, now I'm going to do the second one. Okay, so step 4 is a couple of things. We need to keep smoothing it the whole time. Alright, so the whole time that we are working on these. We're trying to reshape them, get them more bally. You can slap them a little bit. Sometimes that helps. And then of course just using your different kidney tools just to help smooth the outside of it. We're trying to compress and smooth and just make these really, really nice. We need to make sure we have a pristine couple of set of bowls, because the nicer these are and the smoother these are, then the easier it's going to be for them to turn into a teapot base. Sometimes at this point, if your clay is very, very sloppy and wet, you need to just leave it out a little bit. So this is where I would say, you know, just put it on your wooden board and stick it under the fan for a little while. If you run out of time today, you could put it in a bag it up, put your name on the bag, sit it in a corner just to give it time to just get a little bit firmer, because it's very hard to work with these at this point if they're very, 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 very floppy. And you absolutely do not want to add slip to it anywhere at this point, because it'll just fall apart. You can already see like how easy it is for me to make this thing lose shape. It is very weak because the clay is very soft. Okay, but I do want to just keep working my clay and making it really smooth. Inside and out. Okay, we want to do this inside and out. And at the moment you can see the straight edges and there's this little flat bit on top. I don't want that there. So, you know, you can slap it with your hands, you can slap it with a tool. Next step is that we're going to line up where we want our bowls to sit against each other. So I'm going to come along and I'm going to sit them, and I'm going to actually have a look at which way they sit the best. And of course I can force them a little bit at this point. They're still going to be a little bit malleable for you to be able to force them. So now what we're going to do is score and slip. Now, to explain scoring and slipping, you don't just want to stick the two halves together. If I did that, if let's just say I just whacked them together like this, all right, and then I smoothed the outside, the way I describe it is like you've got your two pieces of clay. If you just stick them together like this and then you smooth the outside, it's going to look beautiful and it will look fine and it will look strong. But clay is going to shrink about 20% in the drying period. As it shrinks, it's going to crack and those two halves will just fall off. The reason we score is that we're creating teeth, and when the teeth link together, then as it dries, it's going to stay nice and you know, strong. So what is scoring? Hopefully you remember. You just get yourself a skewer. Okay, and you're going to do cross hatching all the way around the outside of both sides of your clay. So one way and then the other. I'll just bring it a bit closer so you can see it. What we're going to do is get ourselves some paper towel. Lots of paper towel. Alright, and we're going to roll it into a bowl. This is going to hold the structure together, and I could even have more than that. I could absolutely have way more than that if I wanted to. But you know what? I'm going to go get more. Give me 2 seconds, I get more. La la! Alright. So now I have enough to fill both. It's actually going to be a little bit hard to put them together, but that's actually better because it holds its form better. Trust me. It's also going to soften up Like the clay will soften up a little bit as we go. So I've scored both sides, check. Now I'm going to use my slip. Got my little slip bowl here. I am not going to put slip on both sides. I am just going to put slip on one side. You can either do it with your fingers or you can use a tool. It's up to you. All right, quite generous. All right, I'm not going to put it on the other side though, because that would make it hot. Very, very sloppy. Alrighty. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to join them together. If I was really perfectionist and I wanted to join it up exactly where I worked it out, I would find my line and I would match up my lines perfectly. Now this is going to look like a giant macaroon, and as you can see it's a little bit hard to sit together, but I'm going to persevere and I'm going to really press it together on that join. So make sure every part of that join is very, very pushed together. Probably do have a little bit too much paper towel because it doesn't want to push together, but it is still going to, because as I said before, the paper towel is very dry, and as it gets wet by the clay, it's going to help. All right, so now I have this thing. I can't just smooth it. It needs reinforcing. In order to I still got slip all over my fingers. In order to reinforce it, I am going to make a flat coil. So I'll just show you that now. Let me just pause this. Okay, for me this is another standy uppy one. All right, so I get my extra clay. I have a fairly big pot, like circle here, so I really want to make sure I have enough. It's easier for me to cut some and give it to other people than it is for me to add more. So I would rather get it right. So to make a coil, I'm going to start by squeezing my clay into a bit of a sausage or a poo. Okay, then I'm going to use my board to roll it. Try and use this part of your hand and fingers on both sides when you're rolling, and try and move your hands along, because the more, if you keep it in one spot, you're going to have it thinner in one area and fatter in another area, and that just doesn't work. So you want to try and give it ample opportunity to be even. So again, it's thinner here, it's fatter here, so I need to work over here a bit more. I'm being a bit heavy-handed, so it was turning into a different shape. Okay, so see how I've positioned my coil in the middle of these two pieces of dowel, and then I'm going to, can't do it with one hand, but then I'm going to roll it into a flat slabby coil. So the reason I do this, I can't do it with one hand, I'll finish it in a sec. The reason I use the dowel is because it's only going to go as thin as the dowel then, and also it keeps it even. It's gonna have this weird shape happening, and we do not want this weird shape happening. So this is where I can use the edge of my dowel and I can just cut it. See, now I've got a flat, beautiful flat slabby coil that I can put around this guy. Now to add the reinforcement on, what do? I've just done it. I score and slip. Right, so now I'm going to attach my reinforcing. Again, this is a stage where if I didn't put enough paper towel inside this thing, then I would collapse the circle. And I don't want to collapse the circle. So I'm just quite firmly pushing that reinforcement on there. and making sure there's no air bubbles. Like, I want to try and make sure it's really on there properly. I can use my fingers or I can use the tool to smooth initially. Don't worry about it being super perfect, because we're going to work on the sphere afterwards. Okay, so again, yeah, you can use a tool, you can use your fingers. I've just gone to a lot of trouble to talk about the tools, and now I'm going to just use my fingers, but that's okay. Alright, again, any spare bits at this point are going to be too sloppy to go back into the bucket, so I'm just going to put them in my slip. And if you are putting lots of little bits into your slip all the time, just make sure you top up your slip container with some water, otherwise it's just going to be a container full of bits. Okay, so next step is we're going to make a foot ring. I'm not going to use my dowel and my rolling pin this time because I may end up making it the wrong size. Okay, so the really important thing to remember at this point is marking the top of your pot and the bottom of your pot. Okay, so just have a little bit of a mark on there so you know where is where. I'm still going to make sure I have my foot ring as even as I want. Now, as I'm rolling this, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how to make an actual ring for a foot ring. A lot of people prefer a foot ring because it's easy. So you'll roll your coil. You could use a rolling pin if you want, but I found with that dowel it makes it too thin and you want to keep it fairly even. So just roll yourself a fat coil. This is way too fat still. Okay, but just say, because you're being really creative with your teapot, you decide you want to do cat's paws, or you want to do funny little shaped things as the feet, like use feet instead of a foot ring. You can absolutely do that. Okay, so I'm going to get my pot in front of me now. I'm going to look at how big I want this thing. Don't make it too small or your teapot's going to be all rickety. Okay, as I said before, this is way too much, so I'm going to get a tool so I can cut off what I don't need. Excess, what do we do with that excess? I could have kept that for a dragon tail for later. Darn it, that's alright. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. So now I want to sort of work out how I want it to sit. And I'm going to try and get it nice and even. And I'm going to get my skewer again, which is looking a little bit frayed. And I'm going to mark out, I'm just going to trace a very thin light line, marking out where it sits on the actual pot. I'll show you closer in a sec. See, I've marked that out, and now I will score and slip. so now we're getting to some exciting parts. So now we are going to do our lid. Now, in order to do this, we're now going to cut into our sphere completely. So make sure you have got your top marked out very lightly. If you've done a cross on there already, you can wipe it out and just make it even lighter if you wish. Super, super light. Okay. There's a lot of different shapes you might want to use as a lid. You might want to do a diamond or a heart shape or a square or a circle. Whatever shape you want to do, cut that shape out in paper first and lay it over the top so that you're happy with it. Then you're going to trace around it. Now I'm going to just do a simple circle, so I'm going to use this to put on top, and then I'm going to trace around it. So same deal with you guys. Just, you know, find the shape that you want to do, put it on your pot, and then trace around it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'll use my skewer or a needle, whatever you've got as a tool, to gently cut this. Now you have to be, I don't want you hacking into this because you're keeping the lid. This is your lid, so you're keeping all the sections of it, and we need to get it out very carefully. So we also need to cut it very carefully so that you don't end up with really messed up jagged edges. So super carefully. Remember, there's paper towel in here, so you want to go all the way through so you feel the paper towel, and then gently work your way along. Okay, I've got little balls of clay coming off there, so just very gently. Okay, now I want to get it out without ruining any of it, so I'll get a flat tool. I happen to have a knife here, and I'm just going to very gently ease it off like that. Okay, I am going to clean this up in a minute. All right, but for now I'm just going to gently sit it there, and I'm going to show you that now we have the inside of this. This is where I can start to very gently take my paper towel out, because it's going to give it a chance to dry then. But I need to be really careful it doesn't collapse. If at any point your teapot feels like it's going to collapse as you take this stuff out, then I would leave it in longer, okay? Because you need your teapot to harden up. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. So I've got two things I can do now. I want to clean up my lid. What you're doing is just trying to clean it up and make it neat, because cutting it out would have made it a little bit jagged. Okay, so we're just using these little tools just to make it neat. Then in the end we're going to sit our, the lid is going to go back in, and I'll show you how to do that afterwards. But for now, I just want to make the entrance clean. And I'll show you when I've done it. Okay, this is where you might see some fatter bits or thinner bits, and you just, it's not too bad. Okay, it's honestly not too bad. So I can get in here with my finger now and with the sponge, and I can clean it up. The other thing you can do while it's like this, and this is a really good opportunity, I don't know if you can see in there, but you can sort of see the join. There you go, you can see it well there. You can see the join from when we joined it up earlier. This is a good opportunity for you to very gently get in there. Always support it from the outside, but you can gently seal up that crack as well. Now if you're really worried about that crack because it's very big and gapy, you might decide to make another reinforcement, a thinner one, and put it in here. I personally don't think it's needed. If you can just get your finger in there and smooth it, it's usually enough. But just be really careful that you don't ruin the integrity of the lip as well. Now I need to do the same with the lid, but I don't want to change the lid too much because it still needs to be able to fit into the pot. So this edge here is where it fits beautifully into the pot, so I really don't want to change that much at all, because that edge is the edge that sits in there. Alright, now it's time to get some extra clay, and we're going to make our ring. So this is very similar to the foot ring. It's very similar to the when we did the reinforcement. So I get my bit of clay. I'm going to really rolling pin it very lightly though, because I want to spread it out. Just make sure. I want to give it a bit of length, but I also want to make it a bit fatter. So that's when I can come along at an angle. I can give it a bit more width. Then I'm going to use my doweling to cut off the edges. If you don't have doweling, you can use a ruler. You can also guess the width. Okay, so now we have a flat band like what we used for the reinforcement, and we're going to just sit it on the inside. Looks very tall, doesn't it? I'm sitting it on the inside of the lid, inside the walls of the thing, so it goes straight down. This is what's going to hold it in place, and we want it to be that wide because it really holds it in place. So measure it the length that we need it, and then cut off what we don't need. So I'll get my teapot, get my ribbon, put this upside down, gently slot it in, and see if it all seems to fit nicely. If you're fairly happy that it's slotting in well, then pull it back out, because you don't want this, you've just put this ring on, you do not want this ring coming undone and falling into the bottom of your teapot when you've just done it. So what we're going to do is have a break, let this dry a little bit. If you've got to finish your lesson, this is a good time to stop and wrap up your work for the next lesson, because you want to let that harden up inside a bag. You do not want it drying out completely. If any of this stuff dries out completely, you cannot work on it. But alright, I'm going to leave that and that to dry for the next stage. Very happily sitting on top. Now, if you're going to do a regular teapot at this point, you would choose to do like a little knob thing to sit on there. And if you look at the little knob as well, on the teapot, there's a little hole there that also helps it from having suction happening in it. So when we're finished doing our details, we can actually add the little hole as well. Okay, so you could, again, you use the score and slip method of just attaching little bits onto bits. All right, so for mine, because if you remember my design from before, because I'm working on something like this, instead of having a knob on top, I'm actually going to have dorsal fins. And because my dragon's a little bit more like a water horse, you know, he's a very ocean dragon looking dragon, I'm going to make my dorsal fins look a little bit more like dolphin dorsal fins. So first of all, I have to just work out which way I want my pot to sit, because if this is the front over here, okay, and this is the top ridge line where the dorsal fins will sit, I have to make sure it lines up properly, because I'm going to have these dorsal spikes going the whole way around. So I need to make sure it all lines up correctly. So it is a little bit gross, it is very messy. You need to also have your spot set up where you're going to put your handle to dry. So at the moment, I've got a towel sitting on a chair and I'm going to hang mine on the edge of the table, which I'll show you in a moment. So get your clay ready. You need way more, because you need to have a big clump on the end that stays clumpy, because that's what sits it on the table. Alright, so this is probably the grossest thing of the whole thing. So start off by squeezing it down as evenly as you can. Then you dip your hands in the water and you're literally going to massage that clay into a long handle. Now, when you do this, look at my fingers. I'm not pressing any parts of these fingers. I am literally going just like this, just with that part of my fingers. If I squeeze it with my actual fingers, I'm gonna pop it off. Like the end's just gonna pop off, and that would be completely useless to us. So I'm gonna try and just gently. The trick with this is you wanna do it nice and smooth, and just remember consistency is the key. Like, you don't need to be really hard with it and choke it down, because if you're really rough, then it's just going to break off straight away. Okay, so with this handle, I know that I need it to be a little bit thick because it's a dragon tail, but at the same time I don't want it really chunky. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of length in there, just as long as I get a nice amount of handle here. That's going to be easy for me to hold the teapot, because at the end of the day, this handle needs to be able to hold the weight of the whole teapot. So it is better if you've got a really chunky thick one. Now see how I'm starting to get a knob on the bottom there? I don't need that, so I'll just break it off, because otherwise that would have been a little bit hard to deal with later. So about this much is probably good, because it gives me plenty of length that I can cut off. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it like this. So see how it naturally starts to flop? That's naturally putting it in a nice curve of how a handle should sit. And then all I'm going to do is just sit it on the edge of the table, flopping over so that it dries like that. Okay, so there is my pulled handle sitting against the table doing its thing, and while that's drying I'm going to work on my spout. See how I've got a towel sitting there just to stop it dripping. Okay, so while our pulled handle is drying, we're going to go ahead and make the spout. So again, I'm just getting ready, getting a bit of a coil ready, but I don't want to make it a proper coil. I'm just going to flatten him out. Again, I'm spinning it over all the time. I'm wanting to make myself a slab. My little template. I can use a whale tail one, or I can use this one. It's always better to have too much clay rather than not enough clay, because it's easier to cut it shorter than it is to add to it. So now I'm going to cut that out with my skewer. And it's still pretty thick, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my rolling pin to slim it out a little bit more. Not too much. Again, the thinner it goes, the harder it is to pick up off the thing. So, okay, so now I have a slab. I'm going to use my kidney tool to put it flat and just smooth it. And the purpose of doing this is to compress the clay so that, again, it's got no air bubbles in it. It makes it a little bit tighter. It makes it more likely to have strength when we curl it up and turn it into a spout. Okay, now what I want to do is actually just want to do a little bit more here. So when I curl this now, I'm just going to go ahead and curl it straight over for starters. And you'll see that it's got a fatter base at the front. So this will be the base of the teapot, and then it curls up to quite a thin thing. So you end up with a bit of a tubey thing like this. Now this looks nothing like a teapot at the moment, okay? A teapot spout. If I bring my actual teapot over as well, just bring it down here, see that it's also massive. So, you know, I've got to try and get the right shape on this. I'm going to go ahead and open this guy back up, and I'm going to score and slip both sides of it and actually attach it together. Okay, then I can start mucking around with the shaping. Now the reason I've got the dowel is because we don't want to actually squash up the hole. So at any point while you're putting it together, you can absolutely stick the dowel inside it, or your paintbrush, because that's going to ensure that we have it's going to ensure that it goes hollow all the way through. The last thing you want to do is squash this up. First of all, it's not going to have the right angle, so we need to actually cut off some of the bottom. So I'm going to start by getting my bottom angle right first, and then we can work towards the top. So put it against the teapot base, and we see that we need to cut off a whole bunch here on an angle. So I'll do that line there just to show you. And I'm going to go ahead with my skewer and I'm going to trim all that off. Then it'll sit a lot nicer on the base there, but it's still not the right shape, because if we look at the hole, also I've got this thin piece here and the rest of it's a good size, so I'm actually going to have to make mine, and it's okay at the moment because it's, you know, we want it to be about this height, and currently it's above that height, so we're good. So we actually have a bit of room that we can trim more, so I'm going to go ahead and trim some more off just to get rid of that thin section, because the thin section is not going to go good. We want it nice and strong where it's attaching. Okay, so that's a better angle. And I know it just looks like it was pointless doing the template, but at the end of the day, it's all about just trying to have more than you need, and then you can get rid of the extra bits. Okay, now it's out too much of an angle, so I'm going to get rid of a little wedge here. And because I'm losing some of that shape, I can pinch it out. So that's a little bit better. Okay, so it'll sit down here, but we still don't have a dragon shape. Okay, and it's not a teapot shape either, but I'm going to keep that. I'm liking that. So this is where I can stick my paintbrush or my tool back in there, whatever the thing is that I'm keeping the shape, and I can start to give it that curl. I'll give it that curl while trying to keep the shape, like keep the hole in there. I'm going to hold it in my hands like this. I'm going to sit it where I'm wanting it to go. And then I'm going to, outline with my piece of skewer, with my skewer, I'm going to outline where it's roughly going to go. If you can see that. And then judging the thickness of it, I'm going to do a second line. To show where I want to score it. So see how I've got an outline like that? It looks a little bit rough. You can smooth the inside of it. Now before I go ahead and attach this, I need to actually make the holes in the teapot. Alrighty, so to do that, super easy. You just use your skewer, gently cradle it so you can see it. And I'm going to go ahead and put 5 holes all the way through. 2, 3, actually I could go 6. Alrighty, and you can go on the inside and smooth away the little balls, but you have to be aware that that's going to close up the holes again. So if I pop him down there, then I'm going to come on the inside with the skewers and bring those holes back in. Oh, I just added a whole new hole. But it's still within the spot, so we're good. Alright. It's important to have our holes. And we want to make them a little bit neat, because it's going to be very hard to go in and neaten them up later. Okay, so I went away for a minute and my spout turned into a dragon head, so I got him organized. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can get him attached now. I've made sure. The other thing is, if you're going to do something like this, you absolutely need to make sure that that it goes through all the way. Okay, I've done that on both sides, and then you don't have to do this, but for good measure. Yep, I know that definitely works. You don't have to do that, seriously, don't do that. Okay, so time to do the handle. Let me grab it. Remember this guy? So this has been sitting for a few hours now because I actually went and fed dogs and did all this other stuff. So it has had plenty of time to get quite hard. So normally what you'd do with this is you'd trim it off. See that angle? You'd literally have it at that angle. You'd trim off this and you'd sit it like that so that you've got this beautiful handle to hold. And that's, so if I'm going to chop him like this so it sits at an angle, I need to go directly down like that. So I just put it in place, and then I'm using one of my knife tools, or in this case I'm using the metal kidney, and I'm just slicing off that excess that I don't need, because the only reason I had that there was to hold it in place. And I've marked out where my tail goes, so it is going to sit up like this and then it curves down, and that's going to be a really nice chunky handle to hold, which will work out really well because we've got this heavy head. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and attach this like this, and then the bottom of it is going to be curled around into a tail like my design. But honestly, once you attach the handle, it's smooth sailing from there. It's just up to you guys to do your designing and, you know, your decorations and stuff.